As Orion comes back into Earth's atmospheres, there may be no other part of this that is more important than the heat shield on the bottom of the space capsule here. Why is that so important? Because this is coming in at 25,000 miles per hour. That means there's going to be a tremendous buildup of heat on the bottom of the craft, about 5,000 degrees, half the temperature of the surface of the sun. Now, this is an ablative shield. What does that mean? That means it is supposed to erode off against all of that intense heat. But in the Artemis I mission, one of the things they noticed was that it was not eroding so evenly. That's it right over there. And that raised some safety concerns. So what they did was reconfigure the exact way that they're going to bring this back, thinking that that might avoid that problem again, or at least mitigate it, and allow the craft to slow down, slowly pop its 11 different parachutes, and doing so get to a speed where it can safely splash down in the ocean with the 4 astronauts aboard.
In nearly 24 hours, it will take on extreme heat as it travels up to 25,000 miles per hour. Their safe return largely depends on the heat shield located at the bottom of the spacecraft. The concern? The heat shield has a flaw, and NASA is aware. An identically designed heat shield on the 2022 uncrewed test flight called Artemis I returned damaged, pockmarked with divots and cracks. But NASA is confident it has the problem under control. We start off with CNN's Ed Lavandera, who is live at Johnson Space Center in Houston, where Mission Control is located. And Ed, just walk people through, what's NASA expecting as we kind of head into this final critical stage?
Well, we are 24 hours, almost 24 hours away from the Artemis II crew returning back to Earth, and obviously all of the teams here on the ground at Johnson Space Center. And you can see the view from the Orion capsule, the outside, looking back toward the moon as it continues to get smaller and smaller. That capsule gaining speed as it's coming toward the Earth's atmosphere. Take a live look inside the capsule. You really get a sense of what the crew is really undergoing right now. And they are going through the final preparations, getting everything ready to get back into Earth's atmosphere in the coming day. Over the course of the next day, they'll reconfigure the inside of that cabin so that their seats and their suits are all on properly. But there is a great deal of concern about this heat shield. There has been a small group of heat shield experts led by a former astronaut who voiced concern about this, but NASA officials insist they've done all the analysis, they've done all the testing. The astronauts themselves have signed off on this plan before they launched, and they feel confident it will go well, but there are still nerves here at Johnson Space Center.
It's 13 minutes of things that have to go right, is the way I think about it. I have a whole checklist in my head that we're going through of all the things that have to happen. The forward bay cover has to come off, the drogues have to come out, the main chutes have to deploy, the reefing systems have to cut, and we have to get touchdown angle alignment correct, and then hit the water correctly.
It's impossible to say you don't have irrational fears left, right? But I would tell you I don't have any rational fears about what's going to happen. We've done the work we need to, and we have full confidence in the team, the recovery team, the flight control team, the analysis, and the work we did.
Phil, if you take a look at the picture from Artemis I and what that heat shield looked like after it went through the Earth's atmosphere, you can see just the strain and the test that these capsules are put under as they go through these extreme conditions. So this will be a very tense moment, 13 minutes. There will be 6 minutes, Phil, where that crew is in blackout, so you can imagine the intensity in that mission control. And we know that family members will be in the viewing area behind mission control, watching this moment unfold, waiting to hear their voices come back on the communication system once they come through the Earth's atmosphere. So this is happening just a little over 24 hours from now.
I want to bring in former NASA astronaut, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Terry Virts. Terry, really appreciate your time. NASA says the Artemis II reentry trajectory has been modified with the goal of avoiding the conditions that we've been talking about, the ones that caused Artemis I's heat shield to crack. Despite that, do you have concerns about the unknown risks here related to the heat shield?
There's always the concern when you're landing, but I feel confident in this. I have a fellow astronaut who was part of that investigation team. He dove into the details. He's a highly trained engineer, and he looked at it and he was comfortable with it. So on the first unmanned test a few years ago, the capsule came back at a very low angle and it kind of skipped off the atmosphere, and it spent a long time in that high speed, high heat period. And what they're doing now is they're coming back steeper. So it'll be a quicker descent into the Earth's atmosphere. The heating will actually get a little bit hotter, but it'll last for less amount of time. And they think that shorter time will be better for the heat shield. And then in the future, for future heat shields, they're going to redesign it. But I'll tell a quick story. When I came back on the Soyuz, my crewmate Scott Kelly, he had done it before, and the only time I had landed was on a space shuttle. And he said, "Hey, you're going to think you're going to die because it's such a crazy ride, but don't worry, you're not." And I'm glad he told me that, because we were tumbling and it was such a crazy ride when we hit the atmosphere. And I remember thinking, I'm glad Scott told me that, or I would have thought. So these guys are in for quite an amazing return to Earth tomorrow, and I'm excited about it. It'll be great to hear their stories first person, as the whole world's been watching them in that small capsule for the last 10 days.
Can I follow up on that? Just because, there's so much, there are so many things that a normal person just can't understand about what folks like yourself have done. And I am very self-aware of that fact. But the experience that you're describing with the warning you were given, what is that like?
Yeah.
You feel like you're going to die. That seems a little stressful and intense. Try and explain that to people.
So there was a couple things. First of all, when the Soyuz comes back, the way the parachutes came out, it felt like the capsule was tumbling for several minutes. It tumbled a lot. And no one's ever ridden in an Orion capsule. So these guys will literally be the first ones to say what it's like to experience that. But it was the amount of tumbling and the length of time that I was not in the space shuttle. It didn't tumble. It was kind of a gentle, smooth, 1.5 G reentry. The other thing about the Soyuz, when you're in space, you look back at Earth, you can see it moving, but it's so far away, even though we were going 17,000 miles an hour. These guys will be going 25,000. It doesn't feel like you're going that fast because it's so far away. But as we came back in the Soyuz, we were at pretty close to Earth over Africa. And I looked out the window, and I finally, for the first time, saw what 17,000 miles an hour looked at. So it was a sense of tumbling in the capsule when the drogue parachute started to come out, and also looking out the window and going, man, we are moving really fast. I'm not sure if the Orion capsule will be in the right orientation that they'll be able to look out the window. But if they do, they're going to see what 25,000 miles an hour looks like, which will be pretty cool.
The heat, a lot of people, like almost half as hot as the sun. Do they feel that? Did you feel that?
So on my first flight, I was the space shuttle pilot, and it was like the shuttle cockpit's like an airliner cockpit. So I had some big windows. So I actually took my glove off. As you're coming back, you see this orange and pink fireball. It was basically exploding over the wind. It was like being in the club with a strobe light going off inside the cockpit. It was nighttime. It was very surreal. And so I actually put my finger up and felt the window. I was curious if I could feel this multi-thousand degree heat, and I couldn't. Now, there's not just one thin pane of glass. There's several panes of glass. But I actually took my hand, put it on the window, and I couldn't feel anything. So I don't know. The capsule might get warm inside. We'll see how that is. I know the space shuttle did not, and the Soyuz did not. So we'll see what their experience is like.